One of these days, Luigi! One of these days! Pow! Zoom! Straight to the moon! Oh, here you go! Mario! Get me down from here! What's a crack-a-lackin', everybody? It's Hottie, and welcome to another episode of the Blue Boom Review, the segment on my channel where I talk about and take a look and see if a game is a timeless classic or an absolute dumpster fire. Happy Halloween! A very, 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 very late Halloween. Oops. I meant to have this review finished last year, but there was a part in this video I spent way too much time on, so in the near future I'll just stick to editing when I decide to make another review for the most part, probably. On top of that, I've been getting some things set up for my return to streaming before my laptop crashed over a year ago. So you can expect the return of my casual gaming Mondays, casual drawing Tuesdays, which I already did a couple of, as well as a handful of new streaming events I plan on doing once I finish creating and remaking a few layouts. So be sure to follow me on Twitter if you're interested on when I'll be going live. Today we're going to be taking a look at another one of my favorite GameCube games in my collection, Luigi's Mansion. But why talk about the first game instead of the newest title on the Switch instead? Well, Carl, I didn't have the game at the time upon writing this script, so I have no opinions on it right now until I start actually playing it. As for the remake, I'm gonna take a pass on it gameplay-wise since I haven't personally played it for myself. To be honest, I never understood why they decided to reuse Luigi's Dark Moon model and not make him as expressive as he was in that game. And I get that the remakes can't stray too far from the original source it's based on, but then why not just remake Luigi's model as well like they did with Link for the Ocarina of Time 3D game if they're just gonna go back to giving him the I just crap myself facial expression anyway. And before you comment the answer, I'm fully aware that Grizzo, the company behind several of Nintendo's remakes, including the latest entry on the list, Link's Awakening for the Switch, didn't originally make the model. I'm just venting because how you gonna give a brother all sauce and no sandwich? That's just some cold baloney, bro. It's like if in the Wind Waker when Link's sister gets kidnapped and instead of showing him expressing hopelessness, he looked like... Look, I'm not asking for Super Mario 64 DS levels of quality. I just wish Nintendo had gotten a couple of people from Next Level Games to maybe touch up on a few scenes here and there. You know, the team behind Dark Moon's development in the first place, as well as a handful of other titles such as the Mario Striker games, Punch-Out for the Wii, and even the newest Luigi's Mansion game. Wait, what? Really? It's no wonder why this game looks so gorgeous. So then why didn't Nintendo call them back to do the remake then? Oh. Now whether it's due to time restraints or Nintendo pulling the nostalgia card, I feel like this remake is sort of underwhelming, especially considering one of the reasons for Luigi having such a limited amount of facial expressions to begin with was because this was a big step from the 64-bit era and Nintendo probably wanted to tone down the sketchy faces from the trailers and commercials, which I'll get to in a bit, for the final game's release. But it's been about 18 years since that game came out and I was expecting a bit more, especially when Nintendo was reusing Dark Moon's model. But that's just how I personally feel about it, so take it with a grain of salt. And yes, I'm fully aware the remake has a boss rush mode and 2-player mode with Luigi making his big debut. But as far as I can tell, it's local connection only, which means you'll need another 3DS and a second copy of Luigi's Mansion Remake. A huge downgrade from Dark Moon's online 4-player mode, which is a real shame. Sorry about that, I just needed to get that off my chest. Before I get into the game itself, I want to do a brief summary of the history of the GameCube for a sec, so bear with me a little longer. Now that I think about it, this cover reminds me of something. Oh, now I remember! I should get a slice of pizza after this review.
Better ingredients, better pizza.
The day of reckoning.
Near the end of the Nintendo 64's lifespan, in March 3rd, 1999, Nintendo announced at E3 2000 that they were working on a new console under the name Dolphin. Jumping into Space World 2000, Nintendo showed off a couple of tech demos demonstrating what the console is capable of and to show off some games that were in development at the time, including some sort of Pokemon Jam Party, a pretty interesting sword duel between Link and Ganondorf, Samus getting chased around by a swarm of Zoomers, and a couple of other titles that either got released, scrapped, or became completely different games in general, including a certain green plumber who found himself in quite the tone shift of a game, especially set in the Mario Bros universe. That's not to say that Mario Bros never visited a haunted house before, but this is definitely the first place that generally tried to be spookier than your average Scooby-Doo mystery. Okay, second place. But personally, I don't really find man-eating pianos scary enough for me, and dear gravy, don't touch me! Fast forward a year later, and Nintendo finally released the GameCube to North America on the 18th of November with a lineup of games that was about as impressive as the Wii U's console sales. Okay, maybe I over-exaggerated it just a little bit. The Virtual Boy would have been a lot more accurate.
Wait, hold on, guys. I was just kidding. Wait, I was just kidding.
Putting Luigi's Mansion in the opening lineup was a bold choice considering mostly everyone at that point was expecting to see Mario's smug face like in Nintendo's previous console launches, and the commercial for this game was interesting to say the least. Whoa, what's Raven doing in this commercial? Hey, how you doing? You into witchcraft because you're putting a spell on me.
You've got one night to save Mario at Luigi's Mansion. Only for Nintendo GameCube.
What the hell was that?
Regardless, Luigi's Mansion sold well enough and received mostly positive reviews. But the following year, the red pasta pulverizing plumber eclipsed our poor boy yet again, proving once and for all everyone wants to be player one. So is Luigi's Mansion really an underrated gem of a launch title? Let's find out! Great, as if this review wasn't going to get dark enough as it is. Hold on, I'll be right back. Great, I guess something overloaded the fuse. Huh? What was that noise? Oh no. So the story starts off with a little synopsis of what happened 3 days earlier before... Actually, instead of reading it word for word, I want to do my own reenactment of the events.
Yummy. Good morning, Luigi! You got mail! Thank you very much. Hey, Toad, your voice sounded so different. What happened? I hit puberty! Oh boy, a letter for Luigi. I sure hope it's my prescription to White Glove Weekly. Mario, and guess what? I'm a winner! Luigi #1!
What the lack of two you mean, Luigi? You made me spill my ragu all over the floor.
Sorry, big bro, but look, it's all in this letter.
Oh? Let me see that. Dear pesky plumbers, the Koopalings and I have invited you to one of our 7 Koopa. Whoops, wrong letter. I thought I got rid of this years ago. Dear Luigi, congratulations! You are one of a very lucky few to have the name selected in our free mansion giveaway contest. Please come to the address specified in the map included in this letter to claim your prize within the wiki. Sign, the Free Mansion Giveaway Contest Association Administrator. Luigi, when did you sign up for this contest and why didn't you tell me about it, eh?
But Mario, I don't remember signing up for any contest like this. And besides, I spend most of my time watching 2 puppy videos.
Regardless, Mario happy for you, Luigi. Hey, how about I check the place out while you tell everybody the good news, yes?
Wow, okay. Thanks, Mario. I appreciate it. Yahoo! Luigi got the mansion! I'm so happy! Luigi gonna tell everybody!
Mamma mia. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something smells fishy about this mansion.
Hey there, stranger. What brings you over to my neck of the woods? Now, wait a minute there, youngster. I don't think you want to go in there. These young whippersnappers, always in a hurry, never listen to their old folks. What's wrong with this generation?
Oh no! Dear Luigi, look out for booze. Three days later. Luigi decides to head over to the mansion after not hearing from Mario for a while. However, it doesn't take him long to discover there's some unwanted company occupying the place. Landlords, am I right? After a brief encounter with Casper, the unfriendly spirit, Luigi is saved by some wacky old coot with a vacuum cleaner and the 2 of them get out of there. So,
The Professor and
Mama Luigi!
head over to EGAD's lab. Turns out Dr. Old Spice here is a professional ghost researcher who spent most of his life traveling the world studying, capturing, and turning ghosts into paintings because I guess he got bored one day. You know, some normal old folks would rather collect stamps or something instead.
Who says I'm normal?
Unfortunately, a certain spookball caught wind of the old guy's private museum, so him and a few of his buddies
Started making trouble in my neighborhood.
releasing all of the ghosts in Professor EGAD's ghostly gallery and built the mansion. On top of that, EGAD also tells him that Mario ran inside a few days ago and hasn't returned since. So now it's up to Luigi, armed with the Professor's trusty Poltergeist 3000 and the Game Boy Color to deal with the— wait, what? Oh, sorry. The Game Boy Horror to deal with— really? To deal with the Professor's ghostly mess. Now you gotta explore the many haunted rooms and hallways to suck up the ghosts and treasures that are scattered throughout the mansion, as well as to track down the gallery ghosts and turn them back into paintings and rescue Mario from the supernatural forces that has him trapped there somewhere. Wait a minute, 2 brothers? The older one is used to dealing with the paranormal while the younger brother gets dragged into helping his brother against his will with the help of some old-timer? Nah, I'm just kidding. Or am I? This game is a nice change of pace compared to the usual bright and happy world you would expect to see in every Mario game at the time. Luigi's Mansion offers a much more spooky atmosphere despite the ghosts being bright and colorful themselves. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be much of a Mario-ish game if the ghosts looked more like this. Speaking of the ghosts, I really like their unique designs here, with one or two taking some inspirations from previous Mario titles. They come in quite a few variety of different types. You got short ones, tall ones, lanky ones, hungry ones, thick ones, shy ones, bat ones, rat ones, bowlers, bombers, boomers, and boners. Wait a minute, and those are just the standard enemies. Gallery ghosts are an entirely different league of their own, with each one having their own personalities and rooms to match. In fact, every room in this game has something that makes them stand out from each other, aside from a couple of bathrooms, of course.
Hey, wait a sec, aren't those the original Universal Monster Trio? Yeah, you got Frankenstein's monster, Count Dracula, and I think that's the Wolfman.
Ha! Nice Easter egg. And isn't that the poster for The Last Crusade? Nah, it couldn't be. In some cases, you can even see some pictures hanging around the room of the gallery ghosts from back when they were alive. Oh. Let's move on. If I could pick one room as my personal favorite, it would definitely be the observatory. Coming to this room always relaxes me, plus blowing up the moon and revealing the pathway to the star always reminded me of another game I used to spend countless hours on. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Something else I found quite interesting when I did some more digging in the background of this game's development is that one of the original concepts for this game included an underground cave area as well as an RPG system where the rooms would randomly change in real time. I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to mean. I can only speculate that if they kept the concept in the game, it would have probably played similar to Dark Cloud's dungeon system by randomly generating the room's layout each time you re-entered the mansion. But these concepts ultimately got scrapped for the ghost vacuuming mechanics, so that's the end of that story. Then again, EGAD did make a cameo appearance in Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga in the Bean Kingdom's Cafe, and in one of these appearances, EGAD shows up in a giant Game Boy horror.
That's all fine and dandy, Mr. 9000. But what does that have to do with this review?
You see, Your Honor, that massive Game Boy had a function that allowed him to transfer that cup of bean juice directly to him. I guess you can simply write it off as another gag from that nutty professor. However, 10 years later, this feature came back as the main focus of transportation in the sequel, Luigi's Mansion 2: Dark Moon. Now, I'm no professional game theorist, but the connection between these three games lead me to believe one thing. The evidence points out that there's a strong possibility that Luigi's Mansion was potentially gonna be an RPG.
My word! You young whippersnappers come up with the craziest connections! Order in the court. Just where are you going with this?
If you go to the Boundary Breaks video on Luigi's Mansion, you can see a couple of early assets in debug mode that was used, remade, or cut from the final game's release, including a creepy looking ghost model of an early concept design before Nintendo decided to rework it into one of their current bosses in the game. Or in actuality, it could have very well been one of the bosses you were originally going to face in the scrapped RPG concept. And that model was, no, is the proof that came from the RPG beta.
Criminy! You just don't know when to quit, do you? Oh my! That's quite an amazing conclusion, Mr. 9000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's quite an amazing conclusion indeed, Mr. Reviewer. I assume you acquired the official statements from one of the dev teams that worked on the game in question to back up your claims, yes?
No! Crap, he's got me there.
Get out of my courtroom.
The music in this game is really amazing. The soundtrack was composed by Shinobu Tanaka and Kazumi Tataka. If the name Tataka sounds familiar to you, then you'll probably recognize this little melody.
For some of you out there that don't know, the melody you just heard is called Tataka's Song. It made its first appearance in Mario Paint. The song was famous for being a hidden Easter egg in soundtracks of certain games he's worked on. I really love how the main theme is present throughout the majority of the game in some variation. The rest of the soundtrack is really great too, especially during the cutscenes, encounters with the gallery ghost, and the booze. More on them later. Overall, this game is quite the roller coaster of creepy and goofy, and it shows throughout Luigi's little horror adventures. That being said, I guess it's time to talk about the man of the hour himself. So let's strap on our vacuums like a proton pack because I ain't afraid of no ghost. As some of you out there probably already know, this is Luigi's second game where he's the main protagonist and he has to rescue his brother. What was his first game, you might be asking?
We don't talk about the game that shall not be named.
The controls in this game are nice and smooth. Luigi moves at a moderate jogging pace at full speed, which is fine and all, but makes backtracking kind of a slogfest. Tapping the A button lets you interact with pretty much everything within Luigi's reach, including opening doors, talking to the toads, and even,
humping the furniture.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh.
You can control the flashlight by pressing the B button. Holding it down will keep it off and will come back on once the button is released. Aside from helping you see in the dark, it's also one of the main tools you'll use to deal with the ghost, which I'll get to in a minute. You can aim Luigi in any direction with the C stick whenever his flashlight is out or when he's in the middle of vacuuming. You can activate the Poltergeist 3000 by pressing and holding down the R button to suck up almost everything in your path as well as interact with objects far out of your reach. This is also how you can take on the ghost. By surprising them with the flashlight at the right moment, you'll expose their heart points. Use the Poltergeist 3000 while they're stunned to engage in a round of tug-of-war with their health. Then tap the thumbstick in the opposite direction of the ghost until you've drained their HP all the way down to 0 in order to suck it up! But if you tap the thumbstick towards them instead, or let yourself get dragged around, you'll be the one getting hurt instead. In most cases, you'll find yourself in situations where multiple ghosts will spawn in the same room, making ghost catching even more challenging while also trying to survive. Luckily, the game has hearts hidden everywhere so you can replenish your health. Another way you can get more hearts is to try getting a group of ghosts together and sucking them up all at once. However, this won't work with every group of ghosts as far as I know, so if you find yourself in some real trouble, I recommend keeping track of locations of hearts that can heal you completely. Of course, there are a few ghosts that have special protection from your flashlight stun. That's when these things come in. They're called element medals, and they give the Poltergeist 3000 the ability to use one of the 3 element powers: fire, water, and what? No, we're not doing this.
Water.
Enough! Take your multicolored Chuck E. Cheese rings and your Trader Joe's Superman and get out of my sight! To activate it, you need to capture an elemental spirit. You can find them hidden in certain candles, running waters, and frigid objects. Getting close to one of these 3 things will make an elemental spirit leap out of hiding and you can just... Much like how the vacuum works, pressing the L button will let you use that element. You can also control the flow of that power depending on how hard you press the L button. But if you quickly press the button all the way in, you'll fire it like a shotgun with no spread fire. With these power-ups, you can get through certain obstacles, find hidden treasures, and weaken certain ghosts with elemental protections from your flashlight stun. However, you are limited to how much you can use, indicated on the power meter here at the bottom of the screen. As cool as this feature is, I do have one minor complaint with it, and that's not being able to switch between elements on the fly. This is another personal gripe I have, so take this with a grain of salt. Usually, this game will have certain elemental roadblocks to solve. Now, for the most part, there are always an elemental spirit nearby you can grab to help you solve the puzzle. However, there are some instances where that's not the case. Of course, if you already know in advance, then it's not that big of an issue. However, I have derp memory, so I thought I was all set to head for the balcony. But then I ended up running into some ghosts with elemental protection I didn't even have the right element to deal with. So I had to go backtrack all the way back downstairs to get the right elemental spirit, then go all the way back up into the room and restart the fight again. This is why I hate backtracking sometimes. Imagine in Metroid Prime there is no item drops and you can only carry one missile at a time, so in order to open every door with a blast lock, you have to go all the way back to your ship to refill your ammo every single time you want to open these types of doors. It will drive you flippin' nuts. Thankfully, it's nowhere near that bad. Just thinking about backtracking reminds me of a darker time in my life.
Long time no see. Just what are these black creatures?
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
Next, let's talk about Luigi's other handy tool, the Game Boy Horror. Pressing the Z button brings up the inventory menu, helping you keep track of ghosts and items you've collected so far. Pressing the Y button brings up the map, displaying your current location as well as showing you which doors the current key you have can unlock. While I normally wouldn't have too much of an issue with this feature, I don't like it when every time I grab a key item, the map pops up like,
Hi there, I'm the annoying guy-fi. What's that? You found a key? Well, partner, all you need to do is take this key to the corridor. To do so, you need to take the stairs to make a left turn past the last couple of hallways, to go up some more stairs to make a left at the end of the corridor, and then you gotta go all the way past the painting.
Pressing the X button allows you to use the GBH scanner. You can use this to get hints on dealing with the gallery ghosts, warp in secret rooms, or scan certain objects to get some funny insight from the man in green himself.
So much dust. This will never pass the white glove test. This looks like it might break if I sit on it.
Colonel, Luigi dummy thick confirmed. Where, Snake? There.
Well, they sure did pile odds and ends everywhere.
Filthy.
Well, at least we won't have a shortage on toilet paper. Looks ordinary. A little too ordinary. This could be handy in case of fire.
Also, you can scan mirrors to warp you back to the foyer. I kinda wish all of them didn't send you all the way back to the foyer, but it beats walking all over the place. Lastly, you can receive messages from Professor Egad. While automatically, they usually contain some plot, useful information, and saving your progress.
I wish my Game Boy Color did all that. Oh well.
There is one more function the Game Boy Horror has, but I'll get to that soon enough. Throughout this game, you'll be dealing with 3 types of ghosts. Well, 4 if we're counting the bosses. First are the standard ghosts. Now I've already covered the various different types earlier in this video, so I'm moving on to the jackpot ghosts. These little bank vaults on the go are harder to catch than a wild safari chansey, and there are 2 types. I call them blue specters and golden rats. Blue specters are well hidden and are speedy little buggers. Finding one can be pretty nerve-wracking at first when you don't know where they might be hiding, but after a couple of playthroughs you can flush them out and capture them fairly easily. Golden rats, on the other hand, are a lot more unforgiving. Even if you have prior knowledge of their location as well, there's no guarantee they'll show up at all. On top of that, they're even harder to catch because they like to make a beeline out of there if they're getting away. Needless to say, if you get hit while trying to vacuum one up, leave your flashlight on one for too long, or light up a room before finding either of them, then it's pretty much game over, yeah! The third types are the gallery ghosts, or portrait ghosts, whatever you want to call them. They're basically the mini-bosses of the game, with each one having their own unique way of capturing them. Like I previously stated, you can use the GBH scanner to get subtle hints on their openings from their dialogues. However, that won't always be the case, as some of them will require you to play some kind of minigame or pay close attention to their area and perform specific actions to the environment in order to make them appear in the first place, such as the case for two of my personal favorite gallery ghosts, Madame Clairvoya and Melody. The thing I like about Clairvoya is the scavenger hunt she sends you on in order to use her power of foresight to see if Mario's still alive and other events that may have or will transpire through Mario's dropped items. And some of the dialogue she has after bringing her a dropped item is pretty funny too.
Just a moment. Did I just say Mario? Could it be that Mario? Ah, I see now. Well, I see everything. So I saw it before. But now I really see it. So you are the brother of the famous Mario, and you have come to this place to find him. Well, aren't you a good little brother? Excuse me, I don't laugh much.
As for Melody, well, I'm a big fan of music, especially if it's piano music. Even though she's not as engaging with her dialogue as Clairvoya, I do like her little music quiz. I just wish her quiz was a bit longer, maybe adding 3 more questions related to more music from various levels, overworlds, bosses, and so on from other Mario titles at the time, but that's just me. Fun fact, there was an unused audio clip of Tataka's song in piano form. Here, take a listen. Now either this was originally going to be part of Melody's quiz or just another Easter egg is still unknown, at least to my knowledge. I just thought it was kind of interesting to point out. Shoutouts to Tetrabit Gaming for this bit of info. But without a doubt, Melody has one of my personal favorite battle musics in the game. I mean, who would have thought you could make sheet music of all things terrifying? Okay, not really, but I still love the battle music. You can put it next to almost anything and make it look frightening. Also, I can do this. Lastly, let's talk about the bosses. There are only 3 bosses in the game. Well, 4 if you want to count the final boss, but I'm not doing that. The first boss, Chauncey, is a nice introduction to what's in store for our ghost-busting plumber. He's not too easy or too hard and gives just enough time to react to his patterns and avoid them accordingly, considering Luigi isn't exactly setting speedrun record with his jogging pace. The second boss, Bogmire, is kind of annoying. Like a hidden leaf ninja, Sloppy Seconds over here likes to spam Kage Bunchi no Jutsu and teleports all over the arena. Depending on how many Shadow Bogmires there are, this boss fight can be pretty frustrating considering this pink Pepto-Bismol colored poltergeist likes to pull you into one of them like a wild vine pulling George of the Jungle into a tree. Despite all that, Bogmire is a box of chicken tenders compared to the last boss I have to talk about, Boolossus. Before I go ham on Boolossus, I guess now's a good time to talk about the boos. So technically there's 5 types of ghosts in the game, so Perfect! So let's talk about the boos. Oh my glob, these boos! These ghost flying, tongue sticking, pun naming, translucent body, jump scare freaking ball chasing, fool looking, dark room loving, pain in the butt boos right here, man! They're okay. Boos are a bit tricky to deal with because unlike previous ghosts, boos cannot be stunned by your flashlight because they like to hide in rooms you've already cleared and you can't tug of war their health away either. Whoa, pause there, mister. I thought ghosts like to hide in the dark, so how do you find the boos if they're hiding in lit rooms? Well, Carl, you need to help with the last GBH function I neglected to talk about up until now. The blinking light on the Game Boy is called the boo radar, and it changes color whenever it detects a boo in the area. Blue means there's no boos around. Yellow means there's one hiding in the room you've just entered, and red means it's really close and it's time to give the furniture some sweet love, baby. Despite this thing being built to find the boos, it's not very accurate at its job. There's a chance it could be a boo, a dud, or a polter bomb. Once you find a boo, you can take it on Ghostbuster style. As you progress, the boos become more difficult to capture and not in a challenging way as they take every opportunity to dart out of the room into an area you haven't acquired a key to unlock yet. This will happen multiple times, especially when some of them have HPs in the hundreds and become more painfully frustrating when they yeet themselves into dark hallways, forcing you into a repetitive round of backtracking roulette as you, the boos, and a go into a redundant game of tag, you suck. It couldn't possibly get any worse than this, right? Nut. This boss sucks the fun out of my crazy straw. I hadn't played this game for a while, and the moment I entered this boss fight, I started getting war flashbacks of little boos curve stomping the back of my neck while I struggle to hit them with the poor man's version of Ice Beam. Boo Losses has not aged well, and if you ever get the chance to battle this thing, you have my condolences. I get that the more you progress in the game, the harder the challenge is supposed to be. But the problem with this fight is that Luigi has the reaction time of a sloth in slow motion. You can technically make this fight a little easier by having the vacuum out, then use the ice power when they're close enough. But that doesn't make this any less of an annoying fight overall, especially when you whittle them down to like a handful of them left. What if you didn't know that? And the boos react the moment your fingers so much as look at the L button's direction when you're within sneezing distance. You have to be some kind of speedrunning legend or get very lucky to even have a chance to have one of them fly into the range of your icy wind before A, they slap your HP all the way down to 0, or B, form Bootron again and drag Bloss's big booty butt cheeks back towards these frozen Rapidash statues and scatter them again like the world's most infuriating party popper. The fight is so aggravating, it's not even funny. Imagine if in classic Zelda you spent most of the gameplay learning the game's mechanics by exploring the vast overworld and the many dungeons this game has to offer. But then halfway in, out of nowhere, Ganon suddenly shows up and just...
Phew, finally got that off my chest. That being said, I do like the idea behind this boss battle. However, the issue for me is kind of similar to how most people feel towards Death Mountain's difficulty spike in Zelda 2, where the frustration is cranked to 11 due to what the game expects from you within the limitation of the game's controls. And no, I'm not saying they should have made the Boolossus battle the same as the previous 2 boss fights. Far from that. I like it when boss battles changes things up a bit. I just think they may have went a little overboard here versus how the game mechanics works and from the rest of the game's difficulty. It's like trying to cut into a freshly cooked slab of barbecue pork spare ribs with a plastic butter knife. It's possible, but more of a pain than it's worth. But anyways, I'm done ranting, so let's move on to the last bit of this game. So after you captured most of the gallery ghosts and nearly all of the boos, it's time to deal with the final gallery ghost, Vincent Van Gogh.
So, you think just because you sucked up everyone else, you think you can beat me so easily? I, Vincent Van Gogh, was the greatest artist who have ever lived. And you are the biggest idiot I have ever seen. Au revoir, mes
Well, that was the quickest final boss ever.
10 out of 10! Thanks for watching! Be sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell for your chance to win your very own free, totally not haunted mansion. Anyways, after capturing the last gallery ghost, it's time to face off with the source of all of this trouble. Professor King Boo! Yeah, that's who I meant.
So, you're finally here. I must say, I'm quite impressed that a scaredy cat like you managed to become a real problem for us. For a long time now, you Mario Bros have been giving us Boos a lot of trouble. I thought if we got rid of the best of the 2 of you, you would surely fall over like a pathetic domino. Yet here you are, sucking up my friends one after another with that infuriating contraption on your back. I can't even remember the last time I've ever been this angry before. But soon enough, like your older brother, I'm going to turn you into my personal work of art. The fact that we're even losing to the likes of you 2 idiots pisses me off even more. Who really believes mansions are just given away in contests anyway? Talk about stupid! You know, both you and the Boolossus had a chance to trap me in the painting before, and both times you shoo me away because I didn't capture enough of you boos. So who's the idiot now? Shut up! I'm monologuing! I'm sorry. Please don't eat me.
Eat you?
What a delicious idea! Let's see how you like it when I swallow you whole into the painting! No, stop! This is not safe for work!
So King Boo enters the Mario painting a la Super Mario 64 and drags Luigi into literal hell for the final showdown between Luigi and Bowser? Oh, right. Clairvoya did mention something about Bowser being in this game at some point. I guess it must have slipped my mind. Oops. But it turns out this Bowser is a faker, created and controlled by King Boo himself, because after you knock his block off, King Boo comes out with a whopping 500 heart points? Are you kidding me? So after you knock him out of this giant Hasbro Gomorrah, King Boo drags Luigi back out of the painting while you gotta chase this royal idiot all over the mansion and suck him up like every other stupid Boo encounter. I'm just kidding, dude. So after you drain King Boo of his remaining HP, you grab your big brother's ID card, the ego on this man, head back to the lab, turn the king of the Boos into modern art, turn Mario back into his original self, and the Mario brothers are finally reunited with a heartwarming and wholesome family reunion.
I'm so happy you're okay, Mario.
Thank you so much for saving my life. So, you bring my sandwich?
No.
And that was Luigi's Mansion. How was this game overall? Well, here are my final thoughts. The story was nicely structured. Putting Luigi in a haunted house setting was a really great idea. Certainly a better idea than having him travel the country to be geologically correct. And having King Boo as the main antagonist was a really nice change of pace from the usual Mario whooping the Bowser to save the princess we all come to expect from the Italian stallion. Professor Egad, well, a question of sanity, is also a welcome addition to the game, giving Luigi the tools he needs to fight the ghost and using one of the greatest handheld as a communication device was both funny and a great tribute. Blue. I love exploring this mansion. Most of the rooms in this game are very distinct in their appearance, with some spooky vibes thrown in here and there. The ghosts have such creative designs, even turning a couple of enemies from past Mario games into ghosts feels natural when combined with the wacky, colorful looking spirits, giving this game some extra charm. Blue. The rest of the soundtrack is also really amazing. It really ties together each room, action, and scenes with just the right amount of fun atmosphere. I can't really say I've played any game that can take their main game's iconic theme and have 8 different variations of it played throughout the majority of the playthrough and make it work with the environments in some way, but they did and I love it. Blue. Like I said before, the controls are nice and smooth, although a bit slow at times. The way you battle the ghosts by draining their HP when you pull them towards you is such a satisfying experience. And as for the gallery ghosts, they were a joy to take on. The different ways you had to approach them in order to get them with the Poltergeist 3000 kept the battles feeling nice and fresh. It was almost a shame to capture them all. Almost. The Boos, on the other hand, were a mixed bag for me. I like what they were going for to change things up, but later on when I ran into Boos with higher HP, it started to feel more like a chore, chasing them all over the place, chipping away at their HP like ants to a picnic. As for the bosses, they were just fine. Chauncey was alright. Bogmire was a little annoying, but decent enough. Boolossus was a massive pain in the butt, and the final climax between King Boo and his life-size toy Bowser was a decent way to wrap the game up, with the last thing noteworthy to mention was the final grading system, which was okay, I guess, and New Game Plus mode, which I feel could have been better if the ghosts had twice as much HP and less heart drops and still hit harder, but overall, it's just okay. Green. Luigi's Mansion definitely got the short end of the straw on its debut. It's understandable why, considering Luigi's first major role was a lackluster excuse for an edutainment SNES game. You can technically argue that Mario's Time Machine didn't fare much better either, but the difference between the two is that Mario already had a handful of successful titles prior to that, so he could afford to take a couple of blowbacks and still have millions lined up to buy his next game, even with a premise as ridiculous as becoming Hawaii's personal janitor for the day. With Luigi, he didn't have that luxury, and with a game that's drastically different from his red counterpart, most people were naturally hesitant to give it a try. But in the end, this game gave Luigi a chance to be more than just player 2, giving him his own spin-off series and a personality that will last for years to come. That is why I'm giving Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube a recommended.
I recommend the fresh alpine air of Nazaire.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Blue Boom Review. I know I threw some shade at the remake earlier, but if you really want to give this game a try for yourself without spending an arm and a leg on the original copy, plus either GameCube or Wii console, then the remake is good enough. You might be able to get a physical copy for cheap or download it digitally on the 3DS eShop for $40. If you like what you saw and you are new to this channel, be sure you let me know in the comment section if you want to see more videos like this one in the future, as I do like researching stuff in games even I didn't know about, and it's fun making these kinds of videos for you guys. It really means a lot. But anyways, thank you all for watching. This is the Blue Explosion 9000 here saying I am up, over and gone. Take care, have a good one, wash your hands, and for the love of Keanu Reeves, stop buying up all the toilet paper. Your butt cheeks does not have a second stomach. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye!